I love how it's not even just Ark and his musclehead friend, it's also Ariane and her ninja friend who just leaving those two alone together, whichever pair it may be, it just leads to total disaster and murder every which way you look at it. But I will honestly say, despite it being the smallest portion of the episode, the political stuff, which I love politics, I love it both in anime, in real life, it just fascinates me. But in a world like this, where murder is happening left and right, brother betrays brother, brother betrays sister, sister sneaking under in the shadows when everyone thinks they're dead. That shit fascinates me. And the sabotage and the idea of competing for that throne, and just what people will do for what they believe is right or what they want, is such a fascinating narrative. And I love the fact that the most obvious, evil-looking brother who you're like, oh, that's who's gonna pull some shit. But then when you get the bigger picture, not only were both brothers being kind of scumbags in their own way, emperors off in the other kingdoms are also being scumbags. People are backstabbing left and right, and I absolutely adore watching the shenanigans take place, as I'm honestly rooting for this girl here, because even though I think Ark reviving her, and the idea that she's going to probably sit on that throne someday, and declare that God revived her, and the type of religious bullshit that could pop up with that could be explosive, we could also see a point that makes for a very good ruler, but you never quite know. But ultimately, the fact that they're not just going the route of her storming him and saying, God chose me, and instead is being very smart, it makes you want to root for her, despite having the obvious skepticism, as if, shit, Ark might have created a religious fanatic because he revived her, but given the options right now, I kind of want to root for her. Most people in that situation, especially when you're writing that kind of naive princess trope, she would just storm in and end up getting betrayed by her brother, or the brother would realize she's alive and, they're sending in assassins in the night, and then she'd realize before it's too late, sort of a thing. But the fact that she told her sister, no, we're going to keep this to ourselves, because he's going to be hungry for that throne, and I'm going to make sure I can navigate around this and pretty much under his nose. I like the fact that she's not stupid, and even if there is that worry of Ark reviving her and the political ramifications it could have in the future, I love the fact that they're really making it interesting and making me want to root for this girl even if I'm cautiously optimistic about her future. And it was just really cool to see all the backstabbing because, it had to happen. There's no way you don't start teasing this plot line earlier in the season and you don't give us some payoff before we reach potentially the final episode forever of this show. Because, of course, you never quite know, are we getting a season 2 or are we going to be leaving it off with whatever they give us? So I'm glad that this is seemingly the end point of the season because for me, that's some of my favorite content. And based on the fact that we saved so many, even though some were lost from the kidnapping and torture and starvation, I'm glad that this seems to be the final hurrah. But in terms of the remainder of the episode, most of it was the kind of infiltration, battling, trying to take care of these scumbags and rescuing the people. And for the most part, it seems like over 90% were probably rescued. There was a very long line of bodies of those they couldn't save because, they didn't look like they were being fed. Most of them looked like they've gone without food and water for some time, and it's no surprise that probably the elderly and even the children wouldn't be able to hold out as long as, the more healthy and in the middle of their lives sort of a thing. But just to see them come in and just set them free, the general happiness in their eyes and just the way they lit up despite probably feeling like shit. It was nice to see because I love how everyone kind of got their moment to shine this episode. When it came to my macho bro over here, I truly didn't even think he would struggle at all because he literally has abs of steel. But it didn't even cross my mind, and I love the fact that they did this. It's not like he can keep his metal armor on forever. It's basically like, you're using a magic attack, right? It's going to wear you down. Your endurance isn't going to be as good as it was at the start of launching that attack. So by the time we regroup with him, he literally is stabbed and he's wounded. It's not like he's on death's doorstep, but I love the fact that they made it so he can't just use it and have no threat of death sort of a thing. But he still did an amazing job against the General Grunt soldiers. Even though they weren't the strongest knights in the land. When you have 100 people with spears poking you, that can be enough to take down even the most talented of combat fighters. But it was nice to see, Ark do his thing, he did his thing, but honestly, I loved Ariane and her, and just, the ninjutsu, the water, wolves, that was pretty brutal. Literally, biting through necks and stuff, and then her, of course, charring, basically having a barbecue with human flesh there. It was pretty brutal in certain ways. And I love the fact that they don't pull their punches when it comes to a sword cutting people or, a wolf gnawing on someone's neck. Like, of course, it's not like the most graphic thing you're gonna see, but you see some blood, and you really get a sense of like, God damn, that truly just killed someone, and that's pretty disturbing, like, all things considered. Like, for me, those are the moments that I'm just like, oh man, you gotta want to hold your throat, because you're like, shit, if that happened to me, I'd be completely, like, in pain there. But I love the fact that this show has so much going on for it, because when we really take a step back, I think a lot of us were thinking, oh, it's gonna be a pretty funny show with a mature moment here and there, because, I mean, the show kicked off with a content warning, right? But the fact of the matter is, you have this very interesting political story with princes and princess trying to compete for the throne. Right now, only one seems warranted, but even then, her taking the throne could have such ramifications on the world because, as far as she's aware, God chose her to come back to life. And that can cause even the most pure and noble soul that probably has good intentions to become the biggest religious fanatic and probably turn corrupt down the line. Maybe not, but it's something to be worried about. And the fact of the matter is, you have this, like, slavery story, which started off with just REM, then expanded with this ninja girl, and now we have just this skeleton boy who continues to convince himself that he is living his normal, peaceful life. Sure, he's a little more adventurous right now, but no one knows who he is. He can leave this life at any time and just enjoy fishing for the rest of his days. Everyone and their mother knows who he is at this point in terms of being political bigwigs. It's just he doesn't know that yet, and I wouldn't be shocked in the slightest if the final moments of this show, for season 1 anyway, are him realizing that, oh my god, I've been thrown into the thick of this political mind mess. And honestly, just his goofy ass face being like just dumbfounded very well could be a satisfying stopping point for me. But either way, fun episode. Fun action. There was a couple of funny moments. There was a lot of sad moments when it came to the slavery, but it wasn't just like depression for the sake of being depressing. It also had that optimism, like them being so thankful to be teleported and just seeing the forest again, because how long have they been staring at brick walls and cell doors for probably weeks on end? And to see that fresh air, the wilderness, and just, you could tell how happy they were. There's so much to enjoy, and as someone who really wanted to see more of this political story, seemingly that's the end goal of this season. And I wasn't expecting to get that much content. I thought they would tease us a bit. I thought that would be the sequel bait. And even if they don't, fully wrap up this plot line, we're getting into the thick of it, and that's the type of content I love to see more of. So I'd love to know your thoughts and feelings. I've definitely been seeing some cool theories over the weeks, especially involving the politics, like in last week's comments. So let me know what you're feeling, thinking, hoping to see maybe with a few more episodes to go. Let me know down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.